Gesta Ewinakan. Welcome to podcast number 82. Well, as usual, the week's flying by. I'm actually recording this on the Thursday evening today, so I'm ahead of schedule, which is brilliant. And then I get me run in tomorrow, and I'm tapering now, which is fantastic. So I've only got 3 miles to run for tomorrow, and then 6 on Sunday, which is a good thing, really, because I've had this blimmin' pain in my foot, the base of my foot now, for a couple of weeks. And it was quite bad, really. So I ended up going to see me mate Conrad this week, or was it last week? And he worked on it, and he put me through me paces, I tell you. But I come away feeling a hang a lot better. And I still got a little bit of a dull ache there now, but it's better than it was. Now, I kind of self-diagnosed it as plantar fasciitis, I think it's called, but which is can be quite a bad thing to have. But anyway, hopefully with Conrad's magic and me tapering down, by the time we get to next Sunday, which is the marathon, what's that, 9 days' time, hopefully it should be okay. It's been a hang of a year, really. I'll go through it again. Because I'm planning a little something special for podcast after next, if it works. But like I've had a few ankle injuries and it's been tough going. But anyway, that's enough of me moaning. Thank you again for the donations. It's coming in fantastic. Like I say, the weeks, they just go flying by. We've been here, there and everywhere since I spoke to you last. Starting with last Friday, we had dear Joy's funeral from Nan Stalin. An old family friend, somebody I knew forever, really, from back when I used to go to the village to visit me nan and grandpa back in the 70s and the 80s. And Joy was such a big part of the village. And then also her son Paul. I went to St Austell sixth form with him. And of course, we was playing in groups. Then we had our kind of our heavy rock group at the time. But Paul managed to get summer season. Now, it was at a pub. I can't remember the name of it. You go down as at Penpillock Hill towards St Blaise and you turn off left, and it was out that way somewhere. And he managed to get a residency for the summer for a jazz group. And the only problem was he didn't have a jazz group. So he approached us because we Norden. There was me, Al Nance, Mark Armstrong. I think Patrick was on the drums as well, Patrick Harvey. And well, of course, I don't know much about jazz at all. I mean, somebody once described jazz as a lot of people playing different tunes at the same time. And I thought, well, jazz is improvisation, so I'll improvise. So anyway, we went there. I was on bass guitar then, and we did a whole summer season. And to be honest, I thought it went very good. And then in the middle, there's me and Mark. We did a little acoustic set kind of thing, a few Beatles songs, folk songs. But yeah, it went really good, really good. So that was another connection with the family. But I've said before how it's such a weird thing. We will have a funeral from an area that we look after, and then you have 2 or more from that area at the same time. And then you have 2 or 3 from a different area. And at the minute, Nan Stalin is really, for such a small village, is really having quite a knock, because we had Joy's funeral, we had Martin's today, and we've got 2 next week. And it's weird how this happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as well as Joy's funeral last week, well, this week we've been everywhere, really, in Delian, St Column. And I actually saw Alison from Ruthers at St Column, and she gave me a classic bit of dialect, which I must remember to use directly. Must remember that. And also we've been Glyn Valley a few times. I say today, it was Booty. It was Martin's funeral, and leading nursing was classic motorbikes, which was a lovely sight. It was lovely to see. And I must mention the funeral we had yesterday up St Mabon for our old workmate, Bobby P, Bob Parkhouse. Bob worked for us for many years as a bearer. In fact, it was only a year or two ago he retired. Our bearers, they seem to go on longer these days. They always used to come on at 65 and finish at 70, but nowadays it is normal for them to go on well into their 80s. And this was the case with Bob. And he was so active. I expect a lot of you would remember him for singing in the male voice choir and their, what I like to call their splinter group, the Shipwrecks. And in fact, the day he died, the evening he died, there's a photograph on Facebook of him presenting a cheque from the Shipwrecks. And then within an hour, he was gone. And to us, very moving service yesterday, including his mates, the Shipwrecks. At the graveside, they sung Haul Away. And as I approach the marathon, I will always think of Bob, because he gave me the best advice ever. Because Bob had run quite a few marathons himself. And he said to me, when you run in the marathon, the halfway point in 13 miles, 'tis 20 miles. He said, that's the first half. And he said, just as hard is that last 6 miles. And I bear that in mind. And he was right, I tell you. He said, if it was only 20 miles, he said everybody would do it. But he said that last 6 miles is the killer. And he's right. So I'll be thinking of him when I approach 20 miles in 8-9 days time, whenever it is, I'll be thinking of it. So now I think we'll go over to me interview of the week. I went up to see Mark Henwood and Sue last week. The intention was I saw the pair of them. I thought, right, I'll do Mark and then I'll do Sue while I'm here. And I tell you what, Mark talked for that long. We got an episode this week, next week, and we could well have one the week after. So I ended up saying to Sue, look, I'll come back another time and we'll do you. So I'm sure you're going to love this. Mark, he's talking about his life in Wadebridge, but also about his mother and his father's, which I knew both of them very well, and is very interesting. So I'll hand over to Mark now, and I'll speak to you directly when I round things off. So here it is. Get on, you pair. I'll be knacking.
I'm all right, mate. Thank you.
Thanks.
Booty. I've checked I've done it right this week.
Yeah, press the button. Go on, press the button.
Last week wasn't quite right, but there we are. Right, we'll start at the beginning, shall us?
Yeah.
You born here in Wadebridge, was he? Or
no, I'm a foreigner.
Are you really?
Blow through. Port Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Cleve loves that because I was born in Port Isaac. He was born in Wadebridge.
Wadebridge, yeah.
But yeah, I was born. There was a home out there, fair home, and I was causing problems even before I was born.
Right.
So mother was taken out there. I spent 8 days in Port Isaac and then I left for Wadebridge.
For Wadebridge. And been here ever since.
I've been right hand side of Moser Street, left hand side of Moser Street. Well, Foundry Terrace, Canvas Hill.
Canvas Hill, yeah.
And that's as much. 150, 200 yards, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember mother and father.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dad was born in 22 Glen Road in 1909. His dad was Wadebridge. Mum was Padstow. His mum was christened Gwendoline. Mm-hmm. And her dad was Captain Aaron Sloggett.
Yeah.
Master mariner and ship owner.
Right.
She was one of the youngest of his, believe it or not, 13 daughters. Hence my father's Christian name being Sloggett. He was the first boy child born to any of the people.
Yeah.
And so he had to inherit the Sloggett name. So there was a boy that's called Sloggett.
Yeah.
He was born in Glen Road, like I said, but he went back to Padstow just after he was born. His mother was Gwendoline, but everywhere she's Vera. Her death certificate's Vera. Yeah. Her headstone is Vera. And then one of those mistakes in life. Ask your parents.
Yeah.
While they're still above ground.
Exactly.
Because after that, Gwendoline, why? I don't know.
No.
But yeah, 13 daughters. God. He must have had a tough old life.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he went to sea all the time. But yeah, so after Dad was little, they went back to Padstow, and unfortunately his mum died when he was 6. Oh. She died of tuberculosis and exhaustion. So his dad then went with my dad up to Gravesend in Kent. He was a marine engineer.
Right.
He was a William Francis, like both of my parents' families. William is the name that everybody carries, like me and everybody else. But yes, William Francis, Dad went up to Gravesend. He got remarried and Dad had 2 half-sisters. And when Dad was 13, his dad was killed. He fell over. He was walking by a pub and there was a fight. He got knocked over and he banged his head on the curb of the road. 5 days he died.
Oh dear.
So at 13, my dad was put on the train in Gravesend, sent back through London and all the way down Bodmin Road into Weybridge. And his aunt, Beatrice Derry, was married to Ernest Derry, our old plumbing firm, as people will remember. He came back and he never actually adopted Dad, but it was just one of these family things. He came back with them and learnt to be a plumber and tinsmith and coppersmith. He only lived right-hand side of the street and left-hand side of the street in his time. But yeah, Dad come back and he learnt his trade and he travelled all over the place. Then Ernest Derry is one of the bigger firms. And he did jobs in Loo and Newquay and that when nobody travelled.
Yeah.
And they would go up to Bude and they would go up on Monday, stay up there and come home Saturday morning.
Get away.
Yeah. And if it was working in Tintagel, they had a handcart and they used to put the handcart on the train. And when they got up other end, wherever they were working, they used to push the handcart with all the gear they needed, the sinks, toilets, flush tanks, pipes, didn't matter what. They would go up there and do that. And my mum, as anybody that ever went to coffee bar in Weybridge will know, Nesta Elizabeth Hawkey. She was born in 1913 in the bedroom above your old office on the end of Bridgend.
Yeah.
The window, they had the window in the front, which is over where the petrol pumps were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anybody wanted petrol at night, they would come in, chuck a stone at the window, and Gran Hawkey or Grandford would get out of bed and come down and serve them with their petrol. They never missed a penny. But yeah, Mum was born over there. She went to Bodmin School and so did Dad, and they met each other there. And they used to play hockey, both of them, competitive. They played for Cornwall. They met through school and then hockey. And Dad was inaugurated into the chapel, as chapel was a very important thing in my mum's life, with choir and Sunday school and everything that went with it.
So what's the tie-up with like Auntie M, Hodge and that? Because there's a tie-up.
It is technical. Ernest Derry's wife, Auntie Beatrice, she was Henwood, and Auntie M was a Henwood. And when I didn't know until we went to Leslie's funeral, he was Leslie John Henwood Hodge. He was double-barreled, and I never knew it. And I've known him since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. But I never realised that James Henwood, where Ricky's shoe shop used to be, James Henwood, he was a whitesmith. It's a tinsmith, we would call him now.
Yeah.
And when the First World War came on, he went to Devonport Dockyard, and he always used to say he used to make bits for battleships.
Right.
But when he came back, they had a little shop there, and they sold sweets. And I got an advert for them, and it says, inventions made up to be tested. And he would take a lump of wood or a piece of metal and a file and sit down and he would make things. He charged up your accumulator for your radio, and he had that shop, and he had a little workshop out the back.
Right.
And he could make everything. But again, if you go up St. Bright Church, beyond the bell tower, there's 2 big plots. And James Henwood, he got 3 wives on the edging of the thing. And his wife that was with him when he died is on the headstone, but the other ones all died in childbirth. He lost 3 children when the plague came to Weybridge, the trouble with the people drinking polluted water.
Right.
He lost 3 kids within, I think it was 3 months or 4 months. Lost 3 children, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, something like that. And they're all buried up there.
Yeah.
The kids are in the left-hand one, and him and all his,
his
wives are in the other one, like, semi-detached.
Yeah.
They came from here, and the people in those days didn't travel.
No, exactly.
You know, my granddad actually marrying somebody from Padstow was really quite adventurous.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dad was always proud of his Padstow heritage as well as his Weybridge. He joined the fire brigade, and he went from fireman right up to one of the very rare part-time assistant divisional fire officers, ADO. There's only ever been about 2 of them, I think. Dad was one. He went on, supposed to retire at 55, but they kept on making the dates go funny, and he was still there when he was 60. Loved his cricket, always over supporting Weybridge cricket.
Yeah.
And then he went on and became magistrate,
Yeah.
Justice of the Peace. And he put his heart and soul into that. He bought these books that all they ever looked to me was very dense and very thick. And they were, you know, a massive set of books. And he started reading all this up. He was one of these ones that when the court went to Bodmin, people would go in. There were some, again, from Padstow that came on a regular basis. And Dad would always redirect to the list. So they were put on last. And when they were caught, you know, you'll be bound over to keep the peace and whatever. And Dad would come out and this person would be standing beside of his car. Lift back to Weybridge, Mr. Rimmer? Yeah, go on. He would always give him a lift back, drop him off outside Lang's chip shop so we could walk back past the down the railway lines. And Dad come home one day, he said, you know, it's a bit of a service I run, really. Isn't it? And you think,
dear.
But he had people come in, he had a chap come in there once, didn't have any money, and he'd been caught poaching in the river. And the river authority brought in this salmon that he had caught. And Dad said to the bloke, he said, well, he said, honest, mister, I put a line out to catch it because I got 6 children and I didn't have nothing to feed them with. So Dad said to the bloke from the water authority, he said, where's this fish been? Oh, we've had it in a deep freeze all the way through. He said, what are you going to do with it now? He said, we'll just throw it away. He said, all right, so you've been fined 10 shillings. And would you like to take this home?
Oh.
And he actually gave him the fish that he'd been fined for. And when he came home, I sat down and I said to him, I wasn't that old then. I said, only you'd get away with that.
Yeah.
Because I think the bloke from the water authority was that shocked when this magistrate said, no, you take the fish home, boy, it's yours, you pay for it. But yeah, Mum was brought over, like I said, on Egglesale Road. They used to have the Hawkeys garage, where all the flats are now.
Yeah.
And when Mum was a little girl, her dad, another William, he was a wheelwright and blacksmith. And when they were very little kids, her and her brother Anthony, when they used to put the steel bands on the wood reels for the wagons, they had a big pit dug.
Right.
And it was like a well, and it went down to the river. And when the tide came in, the bottom of this flooded with the river water.
Right.
So they had a chain over the top, and they used to put this wheel, knock the red hot piece of metal onto the reel, and then they dropped this thing down into the water.
Okay.
And when they were kids, they used to catch hold of the chain and ride down on it like a fairground ride, hit the bottom, and of course all the steam would come up, and they thought that was a highlight of the week. They would, in fact, Grant Frauke used to, well, I never met him, but Grant Frauke would say, we'll wait for Friday afternoon when the kids come home from school, and the kids would come home from school, kids from Egglesale and the ones they played with, and there'd be 6 or 8 of them on the wheel riding down in all the steam and stuff. And they had an old magneto. They used to light the gas for welding and stuff. They used to put a bit of wire on this magneto, and they all stand in a circle and join hands, and then somebody would wind the handle, and the electric shock would go through everybody. And they thought that was so... Because my mum had long hair, and her hair would go out was like a real cartoon picture of all this. But health and safety?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. They would make things over there, and the people would give them a hand to weld something up. And let's see. But my mum was mechanically minded that she could drive when she was about 11. I drove tractors when I was about 11, but Mum would drive up and down. And if they had to go, because they had another garage down on Bradford's Quay, my mother, and if they didn't get keys out of the car, my mother would drive down, pick up whatever they wanted to bring it back. There was no restrictions. She was driving, they had a Model T Ford bus.
Right.
And my mum would drive that when she was 14. She'd come home from school and they'd say, oh, we've got some people to pick up from the train to take them out to Rock, Polseth, wherever. There was no drivers around. Oh, mother said, I'll do that. Next thing they see is this Model T Ford van going across the bridge. Because mother was told, she got away with it. Sat up in the front, pulled up in the station, drove them out. She come back from one time and they said, oh, the man gave me this. And she had money in her hand. And so her mum said, what's that? He said it was a tip. And my mother had never heard of it having a tip. But yeah, where your old office used to be was where all the drivers used to meet over there. And Gran Hawk, he would always give them a cup of tea and a sandwich, a bit of toast, whatever. If they sat there waiting to go out, my mum used to say there was like a fog with pipes and cigarettes being smoked everywhere. They weren't allowed to gamble. They could play for matches.
Right.
But they would play drafts. And my mum, I've tried over the years, spent many years, I could never beat her playing drafts.
Get away.
They had a game called Fox and Hounds. And you have one piece which you can move anywhere, and the other opponent has all the black colours. You have the white piece. You can move everywhere. You got to do is set moves. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whatever you do, you're going to lose. Yeah. It took me, when I was attacker, it took me a long time to realise that I'm never going to win this.
No, exactly.
But yeah, they had buses over there. They had, where the garage was on the side, I never saw it because I was far too young, but they had a Model T Ford cab and chassis, and they had a mail van box that, when they weren't using it, they used to winch it up into the roof. Right. And next to it, they had a hearse back. Yeah. And next to that, they had the bus back. Right. And the car came with the normal back seats. So there was just two nuts to undo. And you pull that up on the rope, then you move the car over, bring it down, put it on the... And Mum went out one day and she was doing a funeral, and she had to take the hearse with the coffin in up to, I think it was St. Kew, somewhere up there. Anyway, going on the way up, something happened, put the brakes on, and they hadn't done the bolts up on the back, and the coffin slid forward. My mother had to drive all the way up there because she wasn't big enough to push it back. The coffin was on her back, and she was rubbing the steering wheel, and she got up there, and whoever was doing the funeral was up there. You all right, my love? No, I can't breathe. And she literally travelled all the way up there. Didn't stop, though. So they slid it, coffin back, and then opened the back door and took the coffin out properly. She drove different, anything at all. She would get in any vehicle you want to give her. Yeah. From cars to, she drove big buses, the Bedfords and Alston buses they had. She drove them, never thought anything about it. She did a lot of things. Choir at chapel was the most important thing.
And like you say, coffee corner was...
I don't know how many thousands of hours she spent in coffee corner. Friday morning, Gilbert Exit used to work for us, my other father. Yeah. Gilbert and I used to go over to egg packing station, as we call it, over there and get the crates of Coca-Cola and biscuits and stuff and that. and they'd go take it over to coffee corner and put it in. And that was Gilbert's job on a Friday morning to give Mother Ann to load up. And yeah, it didn't matter he was being paid for by the firm.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he'd go over there. Yeah, Dad then, he was a founder president with Rotary in Weybridge. He was president for 2 years, and then at their 25th anniversary, he was president for another year again. And there was a picture on Facebook the other day of all the women at a meeting of Rotary, all the Rotary ladies. And my mother hated that. She was nothing for pomp and circumstance. No. And she's sitting in the middle, and you can see, I don't want to be here, written in her eyes. But motorsport, Mum was always going to compete. She always wanted to have a go at motorsport. And I did a bit of trialling and rallying and stuff. Seeing Grand Prix in quite a few different countries over the years. But all started many years ago. In fact, I have the programme from the event, which was at Havin Marshes. Havin.
Yeah.
1961, was it
1963, yeah.
I was 1963. I wasn't that old then, thankfully. Went over there, autocross on the field, and Bob Johns was over there, and Bob's, of course, with the Jagos down below where we lived.
Yeah. I
said, Mr. Johns, is there anything I can do? And he went, yeah, you can be a marshal. Give me a couple of flags, and I was sent out in the middle of the picture. Cars running. There's some photographs of that on there the other day of some of the cars. And we went over there and stood in, I don't know, it was like a dust storm, just dry. Yeah. It was when we had dry weather. Remember that? And I was over there covered in dust and muck. I had a best afternoon. And there went on, I done marshalling for rallies and stuff like that. But
some good old names on this one.
I tell you what, the bottom lot there, Edna Brobelt was still there, bless her.
Yeah, Kenneth Nance. Yeah.
It was his field, that was.
Yeah.
It was over there one winter when we was kids, and the pond in the field was frozen.
Right.
Oh, we took our bikes over there. Of course, when you were that age, you had his motorbike handlebars from Jeff Searle's father's garage. Any old motorbike handlebars stuck on your push bike. Taking mud guards off. We went over there because this ice, and you could come down the ramp from the bridge down at fair old speed and then shoot across on the ice because it was about 20 foot long. God, was down there doing it lovely. And one of them, I think it could have been John Armstrong, slipped off his bike, and then we suddenly realised that in this iced water was a loop of barbed wire.
Oh.
And he stopped fairly quickly, and then we realised that although we could see his house on Eggershill Road, that's a hell of a long way when your leg's cut and you want to be home with mother.
Exactly.
No matter how far it is.
Well, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. More from Mark next week, and maybe the week after. I think for me, Cornish word of the week, I'll do it a translation of a Cornish place name again. And as I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, I met Alison in St. Column Church this week. I always like to say Alison Bear because that was her maiden name, but obviously she's with Simon now. But I did mention they live at Ruthers, which is a little village hamlet is on the edge of the Goss Moor near St. Column. And I thought if I do the translation for that this week, that'll be me kind of Cornish word for the week. So when you say Ruthers, that's how they pronounce it, but it's actually spelt Ruth Vose. Ruth Vose. And that comes from two words. So you got Ruth, which is the Cornish for red. So like Red Ruth, there is your Ruth. And the Vose actually comes from foss, which is the Cornish for bank or wall, that sort of thing. So it's kind of like the Red Bank. And it was said that St. Column herself was actually martyred there years ago. Well, I say years ago, obviously it is centuries ago. And that's how there's the connection with the redness of the bank. So that's me Cornish word for the week. Ruthers, which is spelt Ruthvos, which is red bank. And why I'm talking about Alison is because she gave me this lovely bit of dialect, and she said her mother used to say it, and I'd never heard it before. And I spoke to a couple of the gang back at work. They'd never heard it, but 'tis a booty saying, really. And 'tis if you're getting worked up about something or anxious, her mother used to say to her, "You'm fretting your fat to vinegar. You'm fretting your fat to vinegar." So try saying that after a pint or two. So I thought that was a booty. So that's what 'tis this week. Thank you for that, Alison. Proper job. Right, well, I'll leave you now. That's this week's done. And I'm ahead of schedule. Fantastic. So I'll speak to you again next week. Hope you have a good week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Cur nobis vicens.